it's Don Skaggs again with Empowered Inventing, the one place where we try to help you take your great idea and turn it into a real thing, like a real product or a real business, by mixing it with opportunity, the right opportunity, and sound wisdom, which you have to have. You put three things into an idea. You put your time, you put your money, but if you don't have the wisdom first, you'll likely spend the time and the money in the wrong places. Now, you're probably wondering why I have a pencil in my hand. Well, I also have in the other hand here, I have a piece of bread. So what does a piece of bread have to do with paper and a pencil? Well, actually a lot. There was this British engineer back in 1770. His name was Edward Narn, not sure how it's pronounced. Apologies to the Narn family. But anyway, so he was reaching for crusts of bread, pieces of bread like this, to actually erase marks from a piece of paper. And you might say, why in the world would somebody try and do that? Well, actually, in 1770 and before, that's what they used to erase. They had pencils, they didn't have erasers. So they would write with a pencil, but then they would use a piece of bread, a crustless piece of bread. Could you imagine a crustless piece of bread to erase the marks that they'd written on the piece of paper? Wow! But that was all that was there. That was all that worked. That was all they had was just bread. They didn't have any of these. They just had these. So, accidentally, he's grabbing for a piece of bread to use it as an eraser, and he accidentally grabs a piece of latex rubber, and he discovered that it worked, and that it actually worked better than the bread. So, you know, I love these serendipity stories. I love these things that, these happy accidents that take place that just bring on new innovations and new ideas. I mean, the eraser in the writing utensil market changed the world. You know, we don't even think of anything. Most of us today don't even know they used to use bread for these sorts of things. But and these types of serendipity, happy accident, invention ideas are around us all the time. But the problem is that sometimes we're not paying close enough attention. We can miss these, and we can even miss these in the process of developing our own startup, our own business, or our own idea or invention. So sometimes we'll miss this because we're just too focused on the original idea. We're like, okay, this is it. This is the one. Now, Don, there's nothing else beyond this. I'm just positive that this is it. And while it's good to be focused, sometimes we can get so focused that we have blinders on, and we really don't see what else is out there, what else could be, or what else other thing might creep that might just upend our original thought. And that's okay. I've done that. I've seen it done. Sometimes we're just not watching for these happy accidents to happen. Sometimes we're so focused on the trail, we're so focused on the day-to-day that we don't watch out for these little things that, well, how about that? And we just kind of dismiss it of, well, isn't that interesting? Sometimes we're just not paying attention to the market. You know, things are going on all around us. And one of the coolest, and I don't know if you'd call this a serendipity invention or not. This wouldn't be like an Edward Narn invention. Sometimes you can find an innovation that's working really great in one place, but it's unheard of in another. I've seen this, and this is one of my favorite ways to be innovative, is find something that's working well in one little niche place, and it's never got out of its niche, it's never been used for anything else, and you find an entirely new use, an entirely new industry, because you're asking the question, well, if it works in one place, why not another? And I'm always trying to see that when I see new things, when I'm always trying to watch other industries and other things that maybe I haven't been exposed to before. There's a new thing out called esports that I was totally unaware of, that I just learned about recently, and I found some interesting things out about that, and actually got to talk with a couple of startup founders that are working on an esports startup. And so there's all these things where you see things that maybe you haven't been exposed to and you haven't seen before, but you have to ask yourself that question. You have to keep your eyes open for them, and then ask you, well, if it works here, where else could it work? And you'd be amazed what innovation you might find with that. And there's examples of those everywhere. Because innovative pivots can happen anywhere at all. But you have to look for the right opportunities. You have to look for that piece of latex rubber. So look for things, you have to look for these right opportunities in a lot of different areas. One is maybe things start to change in the market. Maybe things start to change in the market for the worst, and everybody's like running for cover. Oh my gosh, look, this is happening. What are we going to do? I've seen this in industry. I've seen this in the medical industry. I've seen this in a lot of different industries. It's like, what are we going to do? Things are changing. How are we going to adapt? But sometimes we can see opportunities in there that no one else is seeing, and that's where inventive people can really shine if you apply yourself and you're watching for the right opportunity. When everybody else has an attitude of running for cover, or maybe everybody else has the attitude of, well, this is the way it's always been. I remember a story one time of a stain product. It was a product they used in the laboratory called stain. They actually stained slides with them, so certain cells would be visible that weren't visible before on a microscope slide. I know that's getting a little more technical than I wanted to, but I said that to say this. This particular type of stain had about a ½ an inch of sediment in the bottom of it. And we always wondered why that sediment was. We were developing this product, developing a new type of stain, and so we called the Biological Stain Commission, which is actually a thing. And we asked them, we said, so why is there a sediment in here? Because we noticed that the ingredient you put in is like 4 times the saturation point of this actual liquid. So in other words, there was more ingredient than the liquid would absorb, and that's what was causing the sediment in the bottom. And their answer was hilarious. I'll never forget it. They said, well, it was developed back about 150 years ago, and it's just the way it's always been. And I just kind of had to laugh. Yeah, no one has been innovative for this all this time. So you can find these things everywhere. Another place is when new opportunities strike, you have to be the one to strike out with them. You have to take the initiative. You have to say, okay, if I don't do this, either this won't get done or somebody else is going to do it. And so these are opportunities that you can seize, but you have to watch for them. You have to have your ear to the ground for them. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I'm Don Skaggs. This is Empowered Inventing TV. Be sure and like and subscribe. Share this with someone else you think it might be helpful for. Check out our website, empoweredinventing.com, kyinventors.org, and I will look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, maybe one of our online classes, or on the next video.